There we go. We're live. Amazing.
Yay.
Hello, friends and listeners everywhere. Welcome to this week's edition of Star Wars Generations podcast. It is just the kids this week. The kids being
Hey.
myself and my lovely co-host, Aaron. Yeah. So Matthew's not here, so we got to pick whatever we wanted to talk about with y'all this week. And
Yes.
Aaron and I decided we wanted to do a little episode on the tragedy of Darth Maul, the Checkered, as Matthew describes him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get into that, Matthew did have a email from a listener that he wanted us to read and respond to quickly about the Acolyte, about our Acolyte coverage. So we're going to start with that and then get into the Maul coverage. So I'm going to read the email first, and then we'll respond to it. This is from TJ. I don't want to give away a last name in case they don't want it to be fully named, but one of the things I found interesting is that over the course of the series, Osha and May started wearing each other's clothes. During the fight between the two, the clothing was a nice physical representation of how the two of them remained in conflict, even though they have traded sides. Also, you folks were talking about the battle between Soul and Chimere, and that Soul had a pretty clear edge in their fight. I thought Chimere's desperation was made pretty evident when at one point they crossed sabers, and Chimere reversed his direction and tried to pull Soul's saber towards his own face in an attempt to trigger the cortosis' effect and short out the lightsaber. My final point is that I'm very surprised that it never occurred to me that killing a Jedi without a weapon was meant to imply a force choke. Looking back, it makes so much sense that learning to use an ability generally used by the dark side would be the final test to becoming a Sith, and the corruption of the Kyber crystal as a result of the act was very interesting to see. Overall, I've really enjoyed the show, and I hope we get to see more of these characters in some fashion to continue the story. Your coverage of the show has been great. Thank you so much. I look forward to continued discussions. Thank you, TJ, for that lovely note.
Thank you. Yes.
Um,
So
let's
that's
start with the
no.
part. Oh, you go. You go. I was going to say we should start with part one, is all I was going to say.
Okay. I like what you said about the clothing. I think that that's a really good point. How they did kind of the twin swap, but it wasn't necessarily just like the place swap, but how, like you said, they're always on opposite sides of everything. Even though they're just like taking each other's clothes, they don't go and then like find something. When Osha went away with Chimere, she didn't find something that more matched her style. She wore something that was very May's style. So that's interesting. I didn't like fully put together the visualization that the clothing did for us. Any thoughts on the first part of this, Alex?
No, I agree with you. I didn't really think about it as much either. But I think it's a really good point that like they are constantly in conflict and constantly at ends with one another. And I think Kashima has always been a really strong part of the Star Wars universe, and I'm happy that like it's continuing into this show as well. I think to speak to the second point you have here, let's see here about circle the battle between Soul and Curtain's fight. I thought, yeah. Oh, I see. But Soul had a pretty clear edge in the fight, and that Chimere, it was made evident by Chimere's desperation. Yeah, and I think that's the part of that was that Soul, better trained, has been doing this longer, and at least in the beginning of the fight, had some balance to him. The dark side can unbalance you. And, Chimere definitely felt that level of desperation, I think, coming on. But as you notice, Soul became unbalanced as the battle went on a bit more because he was growing frustrated and haunted by the ghost of his past and kind of letting in that dark side that we've talked about before. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Aaron?
I didn't put together that kind of like the pull towards his face would be a cortosis kind of
Oh, yeah. I
gesture.
thought,
Like
yeah.
I was just like, okay, he's trying to like psych him out, do like the kill me, you won't. Or like, I don't know if he was just,
Classic.
I didn't process it at all. I just watched it like,
Oh,
okay, odd. So I didn't even think anything about that moment. So I'm glad you pointed that
that's
out,
interesting.
TJ. I like how just the little things are woven into even like fight scenes. Like the
Yeah.
cortosis is really still a big part of it.
I definitely saw that as desperation in the moment. I was like, damn, this man, like Chimere is running out of time and is about to just get screwed. So he's trying to like, short out the lightsaber. But that's interesting that it's different. We pick up different things. This last part that you mentioned, I want to say here, TJ, is actually what got me the most. Is I interpreted the killing a Jedi without a weapon differently, I think. Like, physically, literally, yes, a Force choke was killing without a weapon, but I interpreted it as Soul was killed before that. Like, killing a Jedi without a weapon is like kind of like turning him, like turning a Jedi against himself. Like, psychologically, Soul had broken with the Jedi, beliefs and codes in that fight, had turned and leaned to the dark side, had failed, and like killing I interpreted it probably weirdly than everyone else did apparently, but I interpreted it as the Jedi, Soul was killed, yes, by a Force choke, which is without a lightsaber, but also because he become unbalanced. He had let his emotions get the best of him, and the way that Osha confronted him and the way that she basically put all of his failure in front of him, it to me, Soul was defeated before he was ever Force choked. And I don't know. I thought that was kind of a cool moment because that's how I interpreted it, but it does make very much sense that a Force choke is literally killing without a weapon.
That's so funny. You really delved into that and made your own thoughts, and I love it. It makes sense though, like the idea of emotionally killing a Jedi, or within his soul killing the Jedi.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think it was around a few episodes in where I started to kind of process oh, well, I mean, I assumed killing a Jedi without a weapon was hand-to-hand combat or Force choke. So it's just,
maybe I just went too deep.
No, I love it though. That's the thing that's fun about media, is that everyone can interpret it in their own ways. And what you just said also made a ton of sense and is a whole new way to look at it. And that's why we have this podcast,
I agree.
Thank you, TJ, for sparking this conversation.
Thank you, TJ. So just want to start with that. Thanks again, TJ. We always love input from our listeners. A reminder that, in the show notes, you will find our email. You'll find ways to contact us. You'll find our social handles. Please feel free to reach out any way you want. We love getting feedback, questions, comments. And while you're at it, consider being a member, subscribing. It is $5 a month or $55 a year if you want to save yourself a little coffee money. It basically just keeps the lights on, helps us operate. It's going to be buying me a new mic soon so I can sound better for all of you. Bought Aaron a new mic. And it just kind of, just helps us make this podcast and bring it to you. Aaron, none of us get paid to do this, and we love doing it. And so any little bit helps keep our operations going. So consider subscribing. Now back to the fun part, aka Darth Maul. Aaron, do you think we need to give I don't think we should give an entire summary of Darth Maul's life, because
no.
I think we should just kind of hop into stages of his life, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
So
can I try a summary of stages?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first stage, we have him being born to Mother Talzin, living on Dathomir. Then he is noticed by Sidious. Sidious manipulates and eventually takes him. Talzin swears her revenge upon Sidious. Then Sidious trains him and has him eventually attack Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, killing Qui-Gon. He is cut in half. After that, he falls into disarray, goes missing for a lot of years, ends up being alive somehow on a spider. After a while, meets up with Savage.
To clarify, not a living spider. He created metal spider legs for himself.
Yes. Okay, so then there's the Clone Wars era of him. He does stuff with Savage, with Death Watch, And then there is Order 66. He fights with Ahsoka. He is captured and then later released. And then he kind of goes off into the nowhere lands. And then Crimson Dawn is a thing. And then we kind of see him in Rebels.
Yeah. You kind of see him in Rebels is a great stage description.
Okay, here's the thing. I've only watched Rebels once, so I just don't have...
I've watched Rebels a lot to say about it. Many times. I have so much to say about Rebels. Don't you worry. Okay, so we're going to try... We only have about an hour, so we're going to try and not get too in depth. But we're going to talk about how it's kind of... His story is kind of tragic.
Very tragic.
He's born, as we've seen in the Clone Wars, warriors are born on Dathomir, and the men are subservient on the planet to the women, to the wishes. And they live in villages. They live kind of like this subservient life, this peaceful life still. They're not they're warriors, but they're not like, you know, Sith warriors.
Yeah, they're
And
not like.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say they're not like unnecessarily aggressive or like hateful. You know, they like hunt the food they need and
Mhm.
fight battles if they need to. But like you said, it's pretty calm. They live in villages and kind of go about their lives until.
Until Sidious shows up. So, you
Yep.
know, we talked about this a little bit last week. We just touched on it. But basically, you know, I don't know if this portion, I think this portion is
It's
canon.
not canon.
Him being taken from Dathomir is canon, but like the
Yes.
details in Plagueis are not canon. So the
Correct.
non-canonical bit of, you know, is that Sidious shows up to Dathomir, takes interest in Maul, basically like essentially manipulates him and, you know, fuels him, you know, his hatred and then steals him from Dathomir and because he wants him to become his apprentice. And, you know, he
Mhm.
senses the force is strong in him, there's a lot of, you know, anger in him. And like Aaron said, Mother Talzin vows that she will take revenge and get back at Sidious for this.
Which, as I was reading through the Wikipedia, I didn't know this, but apparently Maul is Talzin's son.
Oh, I don't think I knew that either. Is
Yeah.
that canonical?
It's in the Wikipedia, nothing from Darth
If it's in the
Plagueis was in
canon
the
on Wikipedia,
Wikipedia.
I believe it. So,
Yeah.
um,
Please continue.
no, that's fine. No, yeah. So, like, I mean, I think I know the least about this portion of his life, but I think in general, like, you know, he was stolen and then was put through rigorous, vicious training, as you can imagine Palpatine would be doing.
Mhm.
And, you know, Maul is, you know, he learns to hate his master. He learns to hate in general. He learns to just be a vicious killing machine, you know. And the Maul we see in Phantom Menace is very like, you know, kind of like Sidious, very refined and calm when, you know, he needs to be, but also very savage and like almost like a
Mhm.
Sith animal when he fights.
Yeah. Like a monster.
Exactly, like a monster. And so it is very sad that he was, you know, forced into this, you know, this being by Sidious and forced into his service. But I think eventually Maul drinks the Kool-Aid and believes that he could be you know, the heir to the Sith Empire.
Mhm.
Which, you know, again is, you know, brainwashing, but
Until he gets cut in half.
we're not there yet.
Okay.
We'll be there. I know you want to get to that part. That's where Maul gets good. So, you know, there's also this bit of like Maul was created in Phantom Menace and killed very quickly, obviously. And the
Yes.
depth of his character is explored later. So we're going to kind of get to that sooner than later. But, you know, the last thing I just want to say about him in this first era is also that, you know, he's sent to Naboo as an enforcer to try and get Padme to sign the treaty, to legitimize the Trade Federation. Like, this was like kind of Palpatine's early stages of his plan. A little sloppy. You know, he kind of messes up a few times, as Matthew likes to talk about. Very good at pivoting. But Maul does indeed. He's sent to try and track down Padme at Tatooine, encounters Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, immediately engages Qui-Gon in a quick fight. That's the first time that we've like Qui-Gon or any of the Jedi, contrary to the Acolyte, seem to believe that a Sith has even been said. And then they won't even believe Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon was like, I think it's a Sith. And they're like, you're crazy, my friend. You're bonkers. There's no Sith. Obviously it's a Sith, but you know, later we see one of the greatest lightsaber duels in Star Wars, Duel of the Fates, between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Maul. Darth Maul still at this time, and it's, you know, the two-bladed lightsaber. Star Wars has not been. There's been no Star Wars movie for 20 years, and we get a double-bladed lightsaber, a saber staff. That I'm not don't want to speak for Matthew or his, you know, their generation, but many folks I have spoken to said that even though they may have not loved the Phantom Menace at first, that dual lightsaber was one of the coolest things that like they had ever seen. It went viral everywhere. Everyone loved it. And he fights. He beats Qui-Gon. He beats the Jedi Master, but he does not beat Obi-Wan. Young Obi-Wan, fueled with rage and after his master died, does defeat Maul in a very silly way. Maul has the high ground, is just taunting him, and Obi-Wan somehow is able to propel himself up, grab his master's lightsaber near his dying body, jump over Maul with his fully ignited lightsaber, and then cut Maul in half.
A masterful move.
Obi-Wan is a masterful Jedi. I love Obi-Wan, but it just doesn't make logical sense that is how
not
that
super
happened.
believable, but
But that lightsaber duel up until that point was amazing. And you saw Maul, like you saw his anger, you saw his impatience, like really coming out throughout that fight. I think it really showed, and it's aptly called Duel of the Fates because it was a duel for the fate of Anakin Skywalker, really. Like if Qui-Gon wins and is able to survive, Anakin will likely not become a Sith. Maul winning. It's the fate of a lot of things in this duel, but in the end, Obi-Wan defeats Maul. Everyone in the year 1999, rather, everyone in the year 1999 assumed this man is dead. He's been cut in half. We see his 2 body parts flying down the shaft. And that was the end of it. We heard nothing about Darth Maul for years. Until my Clone Wars queen. What happens?
Until we start to hear some rumblings on a mysterious trash planet. Like the outside thunder. Yes. Actually, well, first we see the person that is my screen name that nobody can see on this recording, but it says, Poor Brother Farrell. So the way we get reconnected with Maul is through the story of Savage and Farrell, who are 2 other brothers, Knight brothers, that are kind of forced to compete along with a bunch of other Knight brothers to become the next kind of champion or assassin for the Knight sisters. So basically, Ventress goes. Never mind.
For Ventress to kill Dooku. The whole so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to add the quick note that this is after Dooku has forsaken Ventress. She returns to Dathomir and is seeking a Dathomiri male, basically to like trick Dooku. Like Dooku knows about Maul's existence, knew that Maul existed and was formerly his master's apprentice. And the goal was to train Savage to become Dooku's quote unquote apprentice. Yeah. And then Savage will turn on Dooku at Ventress's word and they will slaughter him together. That is the plan.
The plan goes to shit. And we eventually end up with Savage losing his shit on Ventress and Dooku. And he's like, fuck both of you. And just kind of dips off back to Mother Talzin, who says, oh, my poor brother. By the way, they hulked him up with like some green witch magic and made him like 6'7" when he was like 5'11" before.
He was a little skinny guy, like very kind, loving guy. Yeah,
he was.
They made him kill his brother.
Brother Farrell, that's me. They did make him kill his brother after they hulked him out to prove he was loyal. They said, kill the only person you have ever protected. That's Savage. This podcast is about Maul. So,
yeah.
Savage is instructed, oh, your brother Maul is still out there. I need you to find him. Like, that is who you can, like, be with, who will train you,
because
or whatever.
Ventress betrays... A bunch of betrayal happens. The assassination fails, and Savage is left a broken man. So he goes back to Mother Talzin to say, what do I do now?
And she says, go find Maul. Yeah. And so he does that. After some fun adventures, little side quest moments we see with him. He then comes along to this trash planet similar to Baraka. I don't think it is Baraka.
I don't know what the planet is. If you keep talking, I'll find it.
He meets a snake. The snake is like, I will help you. And then the snake brings him to be eaten by its master. The snake's master ends up being Darth Maul. And Savage is like, we have gotten it. We have succeeded. Alex?
Lotho Minor.
Lotho Minor is the name of the planet. Cool. But yeah, so then Maul is kind of driven crazy at this point, just between like the rage and the destitution and the horrible, horrible things that have happened to him over his life, and especially since he was, cut in half. And Savage kind of, I believe, almost like knocks him out and brings him back to Talzin, who does some witchy magic, and then Maul is himself again.
Before we get too far into that, I just want to say one thing. When we see Maul, it is sad. Like, he had been reduced to not, like, I recognize that Maul was like a villain, but like he was forced to like create this scrappy ass metal spider legs for himself. He's insane, living in literal insanity in this little base, like this catacombs of a trash heap. And all you can do is feel bad for the guy.
He's very haunted. He's just like rambling a lot about, revenge, the Jedi, Kenobi, hate, these kind of things. And it's clear that He has completely just spiraled. I mean, losing half your body and spiraling down a tube is probably going to do that to your mind as well.
Yeah.
So it is sad. It's really sad. Well, first of all, it's creepy as hell because he's a giant spider, which freaks me out. Hated that when I was a kid. But yeah, when like the light shines onto him and you see he like cowers away and he's like making golem noises and whatnot, it's sad.
I,
And so then
I also learned that Lothal Minor is, I mean, it's a trash planet that other planets would dump trash on, and Naboo dumped their trash there. So that's likely how he ended up there. He fell through a trash
correct.
chute and was just dumped there. I don't think I ever processed that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's so sad.
He was just trash dumped away.
And he could have died, but he used his hate to fuel him to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Sith are good at that, just hating themselves back to life.
They are too good at that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a technique we can use in real life.
Not sure. Maybe we'll talk off the pod about that.
So real. Okay, but yeah, so Maul has now been found, been brought back to Mother Talzin, and she like cleans his mind out and gives him fresh legs.
Yes, fresh legs. That's right. Okay, do you want to give us the next little bit until we get to character moment?
Yeah, she gives him fresh legs and basically disappears. She just gives him fresh legs and then fucks off. Like Mother Talzin just fucks off.
Yeah.
Literally doesn't even like say hi to Maul, like what's going on, my boy. No, just disappears. So like Maul wakes up and doesn't know anyone is there except for Savage.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Maul is just like, I'm back. I can't and he's like, first order of business, basically, kill Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like immediately. This man has not stopped thinking about Obi-Wan Kenobi since he was cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
That has been his entire purpose. And so it starts off a little shaky, but basically he just tries to like straight up like go after, how does it, what's the first thing they do?
It starts with a massacre.
Is that the first thing they do?
Okay, I don't know, but we're not here to break down exactly every single little moment of the episode.
You're so real. You're so real.
I love you, but we got to keep going here.
Okay, keep going.
Basically, he and Savage start a rampage across the galaxy, killing innocents as well as Jedi and Padawans, and sending videos to the Jedi Council with Padawan heads and saying, "Give us Kenobi or we will never stop." Kenobi's like, "That's disturbing." And then him and Adi Gallia go and hunt down Maul and Savage. It does not go well. Savage literally skewers Adi Gallia.
With his head.
With his head, yeah, with his giant horns. Pretty graphic for a kid's show. No blood, though, so it can still be Youth 7. Yeah, and then Kenobi ends up, I believe, captured by Maul and Savage, and then Ventress shows up, breaks him out. Maul and Savage curse her, and they blow up the ship, and Maul and Savage are believed to have been killed and just away into the abyss.
So like Obi-Wan, so they do kill a bunch of innocents, but like Obi-Wan is able to like kind of fight back a little bit for a while there, because I think it's just fun that like this happens on Hondo's planet, and it's like just such a silly little moment. But like Obi-Wan fights back and like kind of beats Savage for a minute. And then eventually, you're right, they're captured, and Ventress does break them out. But like this whole time, Maul's goal is to unbalance Obi-Wan. Like in all their fights, he's trying to make Obi-Wan angry. He's trying to make Obi-Wan like forget himself. And he starts teasing him. Like, do you remember how I killed your master? How'd that make you feel? How did it feel when you watched me kill that weak old man? Like he's just like dig, and Obi-Wan is losing his freaking mind. Like that man's usually has it together. He was not having that in that moment. Qui-Gon's his soft spot.
Yeah. It's like Maul was undone and then returned, and now Obi-Wan's getting undone. So yeah, those are a lot of important character moments for Obi-Wan we have through Maul's story, because it's just this absolute challenge. Like this failure of his master died in front of him, and you thought you killed the guy. No, you didn't. So yeah, Maul gives us a lot of interesting.
It can develop for a lot of other people too, but
yeah,
I feel like up to this point, this is kind of Maul kind of being like a little crazy. After this point, after he's defeated by Obi-Wan and Ventress together now, is when like really like his kind of bigger arc of his story begins, because he's left afloat in his ship. Like Ventress and Obi-Wan kind of jettison them and
Mhm.
escape. And they're found by whom? The
Death Watch.
And that is where Maul's story
Pre-Vizsla?
really gets picked up. Yeah. I
Mr.
mean, like,
Vizsla shows up.
basically, Maul is like, Maul and them have a common objective, I guess.
Mhm.
To kill the
Which
Jedi.
is specifically
Master
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Because what did Kenobi do? He screwed with everything they held dear because he loved Duchess Satine so much.
Yep. And Death Watch says, fuck the Duchess, fuck her little playboy Jedi. And Maul's like, I can get on board with that.
Right. But this whole time, Maul is kind of like ingratiating himself because he knows that like he needs them to like get supplies and heal, and kind of like he hatches his own plan. In the back of Maul's mind, he's like, I'm gonna fucking overthrow these idiots. And,
Well,
like,
he
take
tells
over
Savage
Mandalore.
that.
Yeah, exactly. And we're gonna like overthrow these idiots and take over Mandalore. But first, we need an army.
Exactly.
And so with Death Watch, they go around and they like collect like the blacks. They go to the Black Sun, the Pikes, killing anyone they need to essentially consolidate this crime empire under Maul's control. And then they all go back, and basically their whole plan is we're going to overthrow Duchess Satine by having these crime wars go over the place, sow chaos. The Duchess and her peacefulness won't stop them. But who will be the saviors? Death Watch. All while Maul is pulling the strings in the background. And then what happens, Aaron?
And then what happens? Shit kind of falls apart after a little bit. You know, they overthrow Satine. Obi-Wan comes, fights Maul.
They make Satine call for Obi-Wan to come alone.
Yes, because Maul is like, I want this guy.
Yeah.
But they don't know Maul is there, do they?
Well, no, they don't. Satine is just like, oh, we need your help, Obi-Wan. Like, we've been overthrown. Like, Death Watch is here. And then Obi-Wan pulls up to save her because he loves her.
Yes. Let's come out of the weeds.
Sorry, Matthew.
No, it's okay. We're both doing it.
I know. But then Maul basically, like, Obi-Wan shows up. He's captured. And Maul has Satine hostage and then murders Obi-Wan's love in front of him. Obi-Wan's thrown in prison. Yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
It was at this moment then that basically Maul challenged, or very soon after, Maul challenges Death Watch, Pre-Vizsla specifically, to 1v1 combat.
Which Vizsla accepts like an idiot.
And who wins, Aaron?
Darth Maul wins by a landslide.
And what happens then?
He takes over Death Watch and all of Mandalore. Ruling under the fake Governor Almac.
Yes.
Yes.
But Maul, all the while, is using Mandalore as a jumping point and Death Watch as a jumping point to build this criminal empire. Crimson Dawn, the Pikes, the Black Sun, all of these crime organizations under Maul's control now. If he can't rule the Sith, he wants to rule the underworld.
Exactly.
But a little wee bitty snag happens along the way. Someone catches wind of Maul gaining power. His former master.
That's right, Mr. Sidious.
Who, on his own time, ruling the galaxy's chancellor, pulls up in his hood with his 2 lightsabers and just murders Savage Opress, puts Maul in his place, and is like, I'm not going to kill you. I have plans for you. Basically, allowing Maul to live and sow chaos in the underworld to divide the Jedi's attention. Which is crazy to me because Maul just remains under the thumb of Sidious, even when he's not his apprentice. He just is being used and being used and being used. Is that how you interpreted it?
I mean, it's like, it's kind of a bitter thing because when Savage and Maul started traveling together, they were brothers. And then after a little while, it became master and apprentice, which Savage was still pretty happy with, I would say. Maybe a little dissed at times, but they still had a pretty darn good relationship. And when Savage was killed, it was horrible. And it's just, Maul spent all this time trying to become the master. And he's literally put on his knees and filled with force lightning until all of Mandalore can hear his screams.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, he's just Sidious's little bitch at this point.
He always has been. Is a problem.
He always has been.
I mean, like Maul literally, like at first was like right when Sidious showed up, he went, "Master, this is for you. Also, I can return to your side." Like he is so sickly twisted by this man. He's willing to do anything for Sidious.
So afraid.
But then Sidious like, "That's unfortunate that you're lying to me. You become a competitor."
Yeah.
Or whatever word he used, and then starts attacking him.
Yeah. So boohoo for Maul once again. How many times has Maul gone down? Let's see. He went down the tunnel, dead. He went down when Obi-Wan got him, not dead. He went down with Death Watch this time around from Sidious. But he's still ruling Mandalore in secret until the 7th season of the Clone Wars, when we see him once again. When Bo-Katan Kryze,
There you go. Yep.
Excuse me, comes to the Jedi and is like, our people are being ruled literally by Maul. Can you help a girl out, please? And the Jedi are like, no. But we can send a civilian.
And we have that civilian with us here now.
Ahsoka Tano, that's
Miss
me.
Tano is in the house. For those who don't know, Erin is a master Ahsoka cosplayer. Approved by Ashley Eckstein herself. So actually a Ahsoka approved Ahsoka.
Oh my God.
Don't start crying there.
I won't.
But for real, so like Erin's correct that like this is where we see a lot more of Maul's growth as well, because we see that Maul has really gotten into this role of like kind of under the table control and despotism of this planet. And Ahsoka is sent there with part of the 501st, including my boy Jesse and Rex and a lot of them, to try to put an end and apprehend Maul.
Mm-hmm.
But in this time, we get an iconic quote from Maul. "I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here?" To Ahsoka. And of course, like Maul attempts to recruit Ahsoka to the dark side and to become his apprentice. She refuses. An incredible lightsaber duel in the Mandalore throne room ensues between the two of them. And Maul, it's revealed that Maul has been in all this time meditating, aware of Sidious's plan, and has determined that Anakin Skywalker is going to be the threat that destroys the galaxy. And literally is like, I am telling you, Skywalker is the threat. Like, I am telling you, like, he will cause major problems. I just want to kill Anakin. Like, he was trying to lure Obi-Wan to kill Obi-Wan, but also he was hoping that he would bring, quote, his pet, Anakin, so he could kill Anakin, because he wanted to deprive Sidious of his prized pupil. He wanted to deprive Sidious of ruling the galaxy. So like, it was for selfish reasons. But low-key, Maul was trying to help the Jedi out.
They were like same sides, but different motivations, basically.
Yes, Maul was always very selfish in his motivations.
Exactly.
But
yeah, that's one thing about Maul that's been more in like the books and whatnot, but also shown throughout the Clone Wars show is, I think, Rebels too. He has very strong force visions. Like that is something that he is known to have and kind of like have a strength in, and very true predictions. And so he has this vision, as you said, of Anakin destroying everything and realizing
he never lies.
He never once lies to Ahsoka. He says this is the truth. And
he doesn't lie to anyone, actually. He doesn't lie.
That's a good point. Well, he lied to the Death Watch.
I guess that's fair, but he doesn't lie to like Ahsoka. Like he's being genuine to Ahsoka. He was genuine to Ezra too. We'll talk about that later. But he does not lie to Ahsoka. You're right. But no one trusts him. I mean, rightfully so.
Battle ensues. Whatnot. Maul becomes captured. The battle is over. Death Watch has been defeated, and then Order 66. A bunch of things happen. Basically, Ahsoka goes to Maul. He's like, yes, let's team up. She said, no, fuck you. I need a distraction. Go cause chaos.
Yeah. She frees him from his prison cell to do this.
Yeah. And then he escapes until we see him again. When?
Well, first I want to point out that this in this escape, Maul has one of the coolest moments where we saw Darth Vader kill people in a hallway. We saw Darth Maul kill people with the hallway. He kills clones using no lightsaber. He's like, "You want to give me a fighting chance, Ahsoka?" He's like, "Absolutely not." He pulls off panels from the wall, crushes clones' arms with doors. Like, this man is killing people with literally the hallway. Very epic moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he escapes, and we kind of don't really see him canonical time-wise again until his appearance as the leader of Crimson Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
So he has continued his escapades. You know, he was
Shadow
already
work.
the leader of like the crime syndicates, but he had told the crime leaders to go into hiding as he'd seen the Force vision of, you know, the Empire being formed and all this shit happening. Basically, like, go into hiding. When the dust settles, there'll be a vacuum that we can go into. So the vacuum was created, as he foresaw. Anakin became Vader. Obviously, we all know the story. And he reassumes his leadership at Crimson Dawn, and we see him as a hologram at the end of the Solo movie. He's in charge of Kira, who is now like second in command after Dryden Voss was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Kira, we're gonna be working much more closely together. And did you read the Kira book, Aaron?
No.
I didn't either. Well, I'm sure some stuff
Moving
goes
on.
down in the Kira book, but basically, Maul is ruling these criminal enterprises and is this big bad leader. And we don't see him for a while. He's just doing his chaos BS in the background until we find him. Flash forward many years, underneath a Sith temple in the former Sith world of Morabad. So Korriban, Morabad. He is discovered by one young Jedi Padawan, Ezra Bridger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you only watched Rebels once, so, and I've been also talking a lot, so I'm just going to give this quick description, and I want you to give me a full analysis, Aaron, please.
Okay.
I just feel like I've been talking too much. So Ezra falls through this whole, when he's with Kanan and Ahsoka, they are, like, seeking out this planet for knowledge to defeat the Sith on word from Yoda, where they stumble on Maul. Maul is older. He apparently been trapped there. His ship. We don't really know how. It's never described exactly how he got there. But he immediately takes interest in Ezra and kind of guides Ezra through these different, you know, parts of the planet to try and get to the Sith holocron that is located in the Sith temple. Now, during this time, Kanan and Ahsoka don't fucking trust him. Like, he appears and Ahsoka's like, Maul, you're alive? What? Like, she's just shook to her core. And of course, he's like, Lady Tano, how are you? Like, Maul loves to call Ahsoka Lady Tano. That is why my homegirl Erin is Lady Tano creates.
Correct.
But Ezra immediately trusts Maul. Immediately. And again, Maul's not lying to Ezra. He does not lie to Ezra at any point. He wants Ezra to be his apprentice. He wants him to go to the dark side. He wants to rule the galaxy together. And Kanan, of course, does not trust him. Ahsoka does not trust him. But they all team up temporarily because a bunch of Inquisitors have showed up to kill them. Mm-hmm. They all fight together. You know, Maul has to kill a few Inquisitors because Maul like force chokes one and tells Ezra to kill her. Ezra refuses. Maul kills her instead. And is like, you can't hesitate. You have to kill. Like, basically trying to force the dark side into him. Mm-hmm. They have retrieved the Sith holocron. And Maul says, you know, I'm going to go help your friend. You go up to the top of the spire and put it in there, and it will give you the knowledge you want. That part he lied about, I guess. But Ezra goes up to go do that, and Maul goes to assist, in massive quotes, Kanan and Ahsoka. After all of the Inquisitors have been defeated, Maul immediately turns on Kanan and Ahsoka and blinds Kanan. Kanan Jarrus is Ezra's master. Mm-hmm. Ahsoka and Maul fight for a minute, whatever. And then Kanan gets back up, and Ahsoka's like, you got to deal with him now. Blinded Kanan, puts on a Jedi mask, and all right, but that's too detailed. Kanan basically beats Maul while blind, throws him off a cliff. Maul ends up escaping, and is kind of a thorn in their side for a while. So like, he had instilled this dark side stuff into Ezra, who then starts studying the Sith holocron, and because of that, Maul is able to keep tabs on Ezra, like able to trace him through the Force, able to trace the Sith holocron. So he keeps popping up, holding, Hera and other members of the Ghost crew hostage, trying to get Ezra to join him on the dark side. All the while, Kane is trying to push him away. But what was Maul's goal in all of this? He wanted to combine a Jedi and Sith holocron with the help of Ezra so he could fucking have a strong enough Force vision to track down Obi-Wan Kenobi. All he wanted, even in his old age, was to find Kenobi.
He's literally hunting down like Sith artifacts and learning ancient things to be like, Kenobi! At the end of the day, once again.
It feels like he gave up his criminal empires, or maybe they fell apart. I don't really positive, but like he yeah. So like I'm gonna do a quick check. According to Wikipedia, like basically, ultimately, Maul is driven by his desire for revenge, specifically against Sidious and Kenobi. His master who betrayed him, the Jedi who defeated him. Mm-hmm. And so he dedicates his life to just fucking go psycho and try and find Kenobi. And so he is able, with the help eventually of Ezra, again, over and over again, stalking Ezra, mm-hmm. is able to get part of a picture of a planet with twin suns. It ends where it begins, where he met Obi-Wan, where he first met him was on Tatooine. Mm-hmm. That's where it's going to end. And so I'll just finish the last bit of Maul's story and then we'll just dissect it. But he goes off to Tatooine and using his Force vision lures Ezra there. He keeps sending Force visions of himself to Ezra, driving him mad. Ezra thinks that like he needs to go, the part of the picture he got when him and Maul were meditating was that Obi-Wan was the secret to defeating the Sith. So Ezra becomes obsessed with finding Obi-Wan, goes there and draws Obi-Wan out unintentionally for Maul. Maul used Ezra to draw Obi-Wan out. This is old Obi-Wan on Tatooine protecting Luke. Old Obi-Wan. And old man. Obi-Wan helps Ezra, who him and Chopper got trapped in the desert, sends them on their way, but not before Maul had found them. And Ezra was like, I'm so sorry I led him to your doorstep. Let me help you. And Obi-Wan literally says like, no. This is an old adversary, and this is an old wound that I have to mend. And Maul and Obi-Wan, it was not only a duel, it was one move basically, but they prepared to square off. And Obi-Wan still doesn't want to fight him up until the last minute, but Maul is like, maybe I'll go kill like Luke. Basically, he's like he senses Luke. He's like, maybe I'll go kill Luke. And Obi-Wan is like, I must protect this boy at all costs. Mm-hmm. And what does Maul do? Maul tries the exact same move he used to kill Qui-Gon. Identical. He went for the same. So when he kills Qui-Gon, he basically like pushes Qui-Gon's lightsaber up and then stabs him, like using the middle of his double-bladed saber. Obi-Wan, who is a Form 3 user, goes first at his normal stance, but then switches to the Form 1 stance that Qui-Gon originally used. And Maul is like, you could see him get excited. So he goes to try and attack Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, expecting the exact attack, cuts his lightsaber in half, cuts Maul down in one move. The fire goes out. Obi-Wan catches Maul as he falls into his arms, literally holding Maul as he is dying. And the final words, I'm going to try and find the quote quickly because I think it's so important. But here we go. Well, I guess I don't have the quote in here, but basically he is being held in Obi-Wan's arms and he looks at Obi-Wan and says something along the lines of, is he the chosen one? And Obi-Wan says he is, referring to Luke. And Maul says, he will avenge us all. And then he just dies in Obi-Wan's arms. Obi-Wan closes his eyelids for him. and like gives him like, we don't see it on screen, but like I would assume gives him a proper burial or a proper
Mhm.
like burning. And it's like these two have been at ends their entire lives, but in the end, there was a mutual respect between the two of them.
Yeah.
And they die kind of like weird adversary brothers.
Yeah, it's a very brotherly death for Maul.
So that all being said, I've talked way too much. Aaron, please give me your thoughts on that last chapter of Maul's life.
Pause. Do you actually need to go
I
at
can say a
5:30?
few. I can say a few a bit later. I say like extra 10 minutes or so. We'll be fine.
Okay.
It'll be fine. Just go ahead.
Yeah, so the Rebels bit, thank you for refreshing my memory. We see Maul once again just begging for an apprentice. Like this guy just wants to be on top so bad. And he doesn't want to find his own apprentice. He just wants to take other people's apprentices. Like he took Ventress's apprentice. He's trying to take Kanan's apprentice. But yeah, I feel like it really all comes down to yes, he tries to seduce Ezra and all that, but like you said, it's all about Kenobi. And just
Mhm.
having that like culmination on Tatooine of their entire, like you said, lives of fighting one another. It was just like it was one of those Star Wars moments where I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like just like watch and appreciate it. Um but yeah, Maul as always is just sounds like he's causing chaos, like hunting Ezra and the ghost crew, all that good stuff.
But it's also
I
an
still don't understand.
afterthought.
Go
Sorry, what
ahead.
were you saying? What don't you understand?
It was not important.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say that he's still an afterthought though in all of this. And what I mean by that is like he was an afterthought to Sidious.
Mhm.
Obi-Wan was always in the forefront of his mind. I guarantee you, Obi-Wan did not spend a fucking day thinking about that man.
No.
Like
No.
he always just was like second fiddle and always felt wronged. And it's like he lived his entire life trying to find some sense of inner peace and a bit of twisted justice,
Mhm.
but he never found it. He never
Yeah.
found justice for himself. He never found peace. He died with Sidious ruling the galaxy and Obi-Wan still alive. Obi-Wan having defeated him now 3 times.
Yeah. It's a tough day to be Maul. That's why
It's
we
just
call this the tragedy of Darth Maul, because things just don't go his way.
and like I really do feel for him. Like the more you watch him, he said, okay, so like, Ray Park performs his physical live action version. Incredible choreographer, parkour actor, like his Jedi skill, his lightsaber skills are incredible. Sam Witwer, though, has really brought the character to life in the Clone Wars and Rebels,
Yeah.
the voice actor. A little fun nugget for all you fans out there. Also, the voice actor of Starkiller in the Force Unleashed video games.
Huh.
But he creates this Maul is very refined, very like proper in the way he talks, but very cruel and very cold and calculating. And he creates this persona where you almost want to root for him in a lot of these situations because you're like, I feel bad for this guy. It's like he always seems to have his shit together, but never seems to like fully win because every time he gets a win, he throws it away in an effort to get revenge or to take it too far.
Yeah.
But he never had a chance to live a peaceful life or to like give any closure. Like, I would have loved to see him all as a Jedi, low key.
I don't see that in any world ever. He was a Night Brother. How would he
I
become a Jedi?
know. I know.
But no,
You
it
know what I
is.
mean?
I understand what you mean. But yeah, it's interesting to think back. Like, even if he had stayed with Mother Talzin, like, what would that life have looked like for him? Because still, Night Brothers are not the dominant kind of clan on the planet on Dathomir.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, would he still have been able to find a peaceful life, something that he actually enjoyed? Because he really had no chance. Like, if you go read through the Wikipedia, like I did, it was lengthy. There's a period of time where Sidious basically tricks Maul into thinking that the Night Sisters are holding him captive because
Mm-hmm.
Sidious hires 2 Night Brothers to just relentlessly beat him all day and night long until Maul hates everything about Dathomir and the Night Sisters and the Night Brothers. And that's like how Sidious really got his hate kind of like kickstarted. And you think like if he hadn't been horribly abused as a child, even if he was born to like dark side people, would it have turned out this way? Which, by the way, I'm going to tie this a little bit to the acolyte, because
Do it.
that's kind of the question there, is like, if Saul had done nothing and Osha and May had grown up in a cult of dark side witches, like, would that have been so bad? What would have happened? We'll never know.
You know, that's a great point. That's a really great way of tying it in. And I think that, I mean, if Maul had been left alone, he would have lived a peaceful life, probably more peaceful than this life on Dathomir. But like, again, subjected to the cruelty of Sidious, always under his thumb, and never like, always second fiddle, was always just a weapon. Like the Sith, I can't remember the exact quote, basically the Sith made me a weapon. That's what he says to Ezra. And he's like, he renounced the Sith. He doesn't want to be Darth Maul anymore. He's just Maul now, is what he says to him. Like, he basically said, I had a name once. Like, he's like, I'm just a shadow. Like, he's referred to as a shadow, nameless. Like, he never really even knows who he is. He's lost. I mean, again, I understand that he almost, to me, mirrors Obi-Wan, but on the dark side. And what I mean by that is, like, they have always seemed like foils to me. Maul lost his home. He lost his brother. He lost everything because of the Sith. He lost his sanity. Anything he had, he lost to the Sith. And he made a lot of choices that were very poor. But he was also manipulated and was also controlled and like didn't have a choice in a lot of these things. And I think in the end, Obi-Wan, having lost so much as well, some of it to the hands of Maul, including Satine, like Maul wanted to make Obi-Wan suffer the way he had suffered, and they both were suffering concurrently. To me, it was almost like they were like flowing through the Force as Sith and Jedi versions of the same individual. And then that's why when he dies, there's no disgust, there's no hate in either of them. Maul doesn't say curse you or I hate you. You think about it, Sidious dies, Dooku dies, really kind of undignified ways. Vader dies in a peaceful way, but he turned back to the Jedi. Like any Sith who died as a Sith kind of died kind of not great. Maul dies peacefully with respect, and he does so because I think that Obi-Wan feels for him. He feels like he, being, I guess, a good Jedi, forgives him and is like, you have gone through a checkered past. You have gone through an awful life, and I have been there. I know this feeling. I don't know. I always kind of feel for the guy. I always kind of felt for the guy. And maybe it's just because he's badass and he's super fun to watch, but it's sad. His story's fucking sad.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, at the end of the day, he is a villain. He kills a lot of people in ways that you can't excuse. But it's just the Anakin story without him ever being on the light side. Like, it's just someone who's been almost like taken advantage of and manipulated because of their Force power from a young age. And he just never had a shot because he never had mentors. He had masters. And I think you're right that maybe he and Obi-Wan are very similar in a lot of ways. And I think Maul started to understand that before Obi-Wan did. And making a suggestion, maybe that's why Maul hates Obi-Wan so much. Because he probably hates himself too.
Interesting. I think that's a really good point, because on the surface, yes, he wants revenge.
I mean, he already just hates Obi-Wan. Yes,
well, he hates Obi-Wan because he took him from the the being Palpatine's apprentice.
Yeah,
but I think that you're very much onto something in that, like, he hates Obi-Wan because he probably does see a lot of that in him, and like sees that he hates himself, he hates Obi-Wan, and that makes sense to me.
It's all hate.
It's all hate, and like the hate begots hate, begots hate, begots hate, and I think you know that Maul hates himself because he just, like, when his mind, I mean, he just, I don't know, man, like his mind broke when he was, living on that trash planet of Lotho Minor. He just seems to like always, he never can accept, even when he has a brother, he shows love for that brother, but wants to dominate. He wants to be a dominant one. He wants to be his master. Like he wants love, he wants to have a relationship. I think he wants
Connection.
it, but can't. Yes, that's the word. Thank you. He wants connection, but he can't seem to make it or get it or stay in it. It's
Because
always
he's never
just
received it.
damn the psychology of Maul. He's never
Mm-hmm.
received love, so he can't give it.
Like, if you
And
haven't
even
ever received a connection that's not coming from someone above you trying to exploit you, that's how you're going to treat other people. This is how we see crazy people raise crazy children all the time, except just make them Sith.
give them all that power. And even Mother Townsend, if she really is his mom, when she brought him back to life, just again, she just fucked off. There was absolutely
Yeah.
no like, I'm sorry that happened to you, my son. Anything, any help.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, it's even sadder when you talk about it. He never experienced love or friendship or any kind of support.
And, like, I think to an extent, the only deep emotion he did feel was his hate for Obi-Wan. And that's why he was so attached, because that's a connection. It's just this hunt for this man. Like, everyone else has died off or left or whatever. But until he
You're right.
has sought out that connection and seen, it come to a
And
close.
severed it. Because I think that's also a Sith thing. It's all about like severing connection and freeing
It is.
yourself.
It is.
And so breaking your chains for him was to kill Obi-Wan. And I think originally his crime empire was meant to challenge the Empire, but I think he just couldn't get anywhere with that enough the way he wanted to, and so he went after Obi-Wan. And it's always fun to me that he always saw Obi-Wan as his main foil, but I feel like Ahsoka low-key was right in the running with that as like one of his main foils. Like, but again, there's a begrudging mutual respect. He always had a mutual begrudging respect, even though he would like just leave them to die whenever.
Yeah.
Respect for Ahsoka, respect for Ezra, respect for Obi-Wan. He just never got that respect back.
Just put some respect on his name, y'all.
Probably because he killed people and blinded Kanan and killed Qui-Gon and
massacred children.
Overthrew Mandalore, killed children who were waiting for aid. Did he? I want to clarify, y'all. We're not saying he deserved a happy-go-lucky life.
Did not.
But similar to Anakin, was kind of the odds were stacked against him, but even worse so. I mean, Homeboy just didn't have a fighting chance from day one, and
yeah,
it's tragic in my opinion the way he was treated.
It is, and that's the story of the tragedy of Darth Maul, the Checkered.
Yeah. So,
any final thoughts from you? We'll cut that out.
We'll cut that out. Great. Yeah, I have one note I want to make. One little fun fact for everyone is that when his name's Ian McCraig, I want to say, was designing Darth Maul for Phantom Menace, George Lucas said to him, design something out of your nightmares. Bring a nightmare to life for me. And that is how we got the Darth Maul we have today. And I think he is still to this day one of, if not the coolest character designs that we've ever gotten, from his horned head to his colored skin, the red and black, to his dual-bladed lightsaber staff, like all of it menacing. I was scared of him as a kid. That's what I was seeing in my nightmares, but so cool, so badass. One of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, hands down.
Yeah.
Do you have any last thoughts?
Yes. So last little, I guess, comment, fun fact that I didn't bring up earlier. So Darth Maul is a Zabrak, that is his species, and he was not born that color. He was born all red, but the Night Sisters kind of use magic to tattoo babies. That's why the Dathomirian men have these red or yellow tattoos, and the Dathomirian women don't, because it's not a skin color thing. It's not like a trait, a genetic trait or anything. It's like a symbol of the people. And that's why there's such a difference between Dathomirian Zabraks and other Zabraks.
I learned something. That was cool.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. As always, please hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can't like a podcast, but just follow along. We got some fun stuff here. Thank you for joining us. If you're interested,
stick around.
Stick around if you're a member. If you want to become a member, you can hear us talk about who was the better Darth Maul, and also some upcoming skeleton crew things. All right. Well, we have spoken.
Stay classy, Lotho Minor.
I was hoping for Kenobi. All
And
right,
we're back.
welcome back, members. Okay, so I mentioned two things in the main episodes that we're going to talk about because the first one is kind of a joke. So, Alex, you had texted me, some thoughts for the bonus, and you said Ray Park versus Sam Witwer as Darth Maul. Let's answer this together. Who is the better Darth Maul?
Sam Witwer.
Sam Witwer.
Ray Park, love him. Brought the character to life originally. The
Yep.
OG, great guy. But just like,
he's a stunt coordinator, okay? He had one line and he didn't do it great. But he
had one line. It's so sad.
At last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
At last we will have our revenge. That's literally the whole thing. But I think that he brought the character to life. He is menacing. He brought the fear of that character. His lightsaber dueling is incredible. But the personality and the gist of the Maul we know is definitely Sam Witwer's Maul.
Yeah, almost like the poise to Maul. And that's another thing. He said to Ezra, the Sith have made me a weapon. I think part of after he was defeated on Naboo, he became a lot more poised and kind of posh almost. And it's because I think he was trying to get around that being treated as a monster type of a thing.
Fully agree.
Okay.
Now, the more serious bonus content we have for you is just today, Star Wars released a few kind of sneak peek images of the new upcoming Skeleton Crew show. We're not going to give away. I mean, there really aren't any spoilers. We don't know very much about it. The gist of it is it's starring Jude Law as a Jedi, and basically has a. This is taking place around the same time as The Mandalorian, so on the run, and he has this crew of little youngling age children going around with him. And
he does have children.
What was that?
That was my alarm. I'm sorry.
It's so fun. But basically, they released 5 pictures, and they are mostly of these children, and then Jude Law. And so, we don't know a ton about the show yet, but it got me a little excited because, we had known, basically nothing about it. I knew that Jude Law was a star, and I knew there were kids kind of involved. But it appears that, Jude Law is literally, he has a crew of these children, and they're going around the galaxy doing who knows what. One of the
what
images,
it's giving?
What is it giving?
It's giving Hu Yang. Wandering the galaxy with Jedi younglings.
Hu Yang. That's a good point.
So maybe he's a Jedi trainer, someone in charge of the younglings.
That's a really good point, actually. And, according to okay, here we go. They give us such little information. When 4 kids make a mysterious discovery on their seemingly safe home planet, they get lost in a strange and dangerous galaxy. Finding their way home, meeting unlikely allies and enemies will be a greater adventure than they ever imagined.
Okay, so if they have one home planet, they are not Jedi younglings.
No, but Jude Law is a Jedi, so I would guess maybe they meet them along the way. And the word being used to describe this show, according to Jude Law, he said one word is joyful.
Yay!
And it's supposed to be I apparently it's still probably gonna be a little serious, but it seems like a little more fun and joyful and
yeah. I mean, one of our characters is the same species as Max Rebo, who is
we love that
our icon. It's the Ortolan.
The blue elephant looking guy who plays music.
Okay. Yep. I was trying to be sophisticated, but he is the blue elephant. So we get to see a baby blue elephant on this cute little speeder bike. Honestly, there's this one photo. We can post a link to these Twitter photos here, but there's one photo of these 2 little kids walking beside bikes that really reminds me of Stranger Things. I've never
Yeah.
seen Stranger Things, but it's giving
Oh my
Stranger
God.
Things. And so if they're doing like a Star Wars, almost like Stranger Things type of a thing, that would be really fun. Except, Jude Law said it was joyful, not like
But it's also like
terrifying.
it's still an adventure, and like
Yeah.
Nick Frost is playing this droid, and he describes him as he's like a rusty old cranky droid that sort of reluctantly helps the kids along the way.
Mhm.
And to me, that's giving like K2 from Rogue One, just kind of a sassy
Yep.
sassy droid. And like I don't know, it seems like it was a fun show to make, and like there's one photo specifically that was released that shows Jude Law in front of all of these kids, and there's these little robot eyes that we only usually see being used on Tatooine, maybe by
Matthew's
the
about to be mad.
Hutts. I know Matthew hates it. We keep coming back to Tatooine. But I don't know. Maybe it's spread farther along, but it's cool just to see that little tidbit Easter egg. Anyway, but this is a show I've actually been really excited about because it's the one I know the least about. And it is taking place during the time of the Empire, which I think is like this ripe 20-year period of interesting storytelling. I love Jude Law as an actor. Excuse me. And I don't know. I think it's just gonna be a really, and for those who, by the way, who don't maybe know him, he was in Sherlock Holmes. He was in Fantastic
Yeah.
Beasts. Kind of a lot of nerdy things. But he's just a really good actor. He's in a lot of other standalone, movies and shows and stuff. But
Yeah.
it'll be really fun. I'm really excited about it. I don't know very little about it, besides what I just read you. But these images got me all excited because we haven't had like a little kids adventure,
I'm
like
so
a
excited.
adult show, but kids.
Yeah. Like,
We need some
let's
joy
see.
too.
People Magazine, the most trustable source on the internet, but they called it a childhood adventure, which is just a cute
Yeah.
little description. I hope it's something like that. My parents, God knows my parents need that after the Acolyte. They're ready to swear off Star Wars because they don't like dark shit.
Yeah, I think
So,
this will be a really good foil to that. Like we need something joyful, and also like it's coming out December 3rd. Like the holiday season, we want something a little lighter.
mhm,
Especially with the current division in the U.S. Like with elections and stuff. Like we all need
mhm.
something joyful and light, to get our minds off the world. And so I'm really excited about it.
Me too. Ugh.
Oh,
Well, members, thank you for joining us for another a little chit chat,
little ramble.
a little ramble, a little yapping, a little download, one might say.
If there's one thing that Aaron and I love to do, it is to yap.
It is a yap. We are yappers
We are
professionally.
yappers. We are professional yappers through and
Unpaid.
through.
But
But if you remember, you can pay us.
which we appreciate. And we will yap more, which we did. So we said some stuff.
We did some stuff. And we're going to stay classy. We'll go through minor again because those chunkers need all the class they can get. And we spoke.
At last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
At last we have our revenge.
Matthew, keep it in there like that. We outie on that one. Okay, I do have to run. But that was
Question mark?
incredible.
Okay, bye.
Bye, friend. Hopefully this works and we don't just lose that
Can
entire
you-
recording.
Yeah, can you text me and make sure that it says it's uploading after you leave?
Yeah, I want to hit leave.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Okay, bye.